Hello, V.
Hi.
Hey there, everybody.
Oh,
Hi. I got 1 minute left, so wait a minute. Are you actually outside, Jason?
I'm actually outside. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Wow, lovely.
Are you actually inside? Is the question.
Yeah, I'm actually inside. Yeah. Blur the background and make it a little bit more, have a better mood.
I just got done a 3-hour bike ride and probably rode past everyone here's house. So it's
Mhm.
better for me to be outside right now than inside.
Got it. All right, it is 7 o'clock and there are 4 of us on the committee, which does constitute a quorum, given that our maximum is 7. So let's call the meeting. To yeah.
I'm not a committee member, remember?
Right,
here,
right.
Ronnie's now, okay.
Well, right, but I mean, Lovey, myself, Rebecca, and Jay constitute.
Got it.
Yeah, but now also we have Ronnie. So and Ronnie is now an official member of the committee. So we now have a more than a quorum. So let's kick it off. We'll call the meeting to order. Let's see, first order of business. Well, I should do a roll call. I've been told by Brandy and others that I need to do a roll call. So let's do a roll call. Lovey, Taylor?
Here.
Jason?
Here.
Ronnie?
Here.
Rebecca?
Here.
Scott, I'm here. Walt, not here, and Stefan, not here. So we've got 5 though, so we will start. So first thing is oral communication. So that would be anything not on the agenda. I don't think there's anybody from the public beyond the members of the committee. So do any of you have something you'd want to put into oral communications that's not been agendized, if I can use that word?
Well, I would just mention that I think we can all celebrate that the Inflation Reduction Act was passed, and it's the largest climate bill in history, and hopefully it will help a little bit.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and I just want to say that Al Sill and I and somebody from the planning department are going to get together soon and have a meeting about Wheelo. So
Okay.
I'll have a report at the next meeting.
Great. Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, then I think we can move on to introductions. So there are going to be some changes in the makeup of the committee. Stefan is going to be stepping down. I had expected him to be at this meeting. I hope he does come because it'd be nice for us to acknowledge his participation and, hear if he has any thoughts on departing. And then we're really happy that Ronnie is joining us. Wonderful. And now you're officially a member. And then after the next town meeting, Anita will become a member of the committee. So Anita from, and there's Stefan. So maybe we should wait for Stefan and see if he wants to make any comments. Hey, Stefan.
Hi there. Sorry, it took me a few minutes to get in.
That's okay. I was just announcing or letting people know the changes to the makeup of the committee, that you are going to be stepping down, and Ronnie is joining, and also Anita will be joining us after the next town council meeting. So Stefan, can you just remind us when you joined the committee and sort of what's
I joined the committee in 2007.
Wow.
And we worked on our own climate action plan based on data that the town staff was able to fetch from PG&E and from PG&E. And we actually, made a climate action plan that took into account the growth in housing, the vehicle population, everyone's natural gas and electricity use. And then back then, we put a big priority on going to getting rid of incandescent light bulbs. And basically, the plan is that you would expect all of the newer houses to be greener, but a lot of the older houses are going to have high use rates. So we worked on a couple of interesting projects. I would say the one that was most productive was the leaf blower ban, and we debated that extensively. And then now we have a gasoline leaf blower ban in the town, so that was quite a few years of being on the committee.
Yeah, great. Well, I think we all want to thank you for having been on the committee and having done all that work. I didn't realize it was that many years that you were involved, which is great. So yeah, thank you. I don't know if anybody else has comments, but anyway, this would be Stefan's last meeting, I guess, unless he wants to join us just for old time's sake.
Sure. Well, the other thing I thought that was particularly productive was our collaboration on the PV backup power. I think it's got a lot of setting aside whether it's a good idea or not. It has a lot of.
We lost you. Lost your audio. Well, maybe he will come back. Hopefully he will come back.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so the backup power options, they're interesting for all sorts of reasons, resiliency, eliminating gasoline power generators, which are the cheaper option. And we got an inquiry today from someone who wants to take one to Burning Man. So you have multiple uses.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you. Thank you again, Stefan.
Thank you.
So, and then I want to welcome Ronnie. And Ronnie, maybe you could just say a little bit about your own background and interest in the committee and just, yeah.
Sure. I've been in Portola Valley about 1.5 years, relatively recent. We're on Willowbrook with my wife and 2 kids, 1 and 4.5. I guess my day job, I'm a computer engineer at NVIDIA. As far as the committee, I'm generally interested in, sustainability and preserving, our environment. Rebecca had reached out to me after I posted some stuff about some of the water monitoring, electricity monitoring stuff I've used just here at the house, and mentioned that you were maybe going to be trying out some new technology around, I think it's electrical smart meters. And so, yeah, I'd be interested in trying out new tech and I guess helping out however I can.
Great, thank you. Welcome.
Thanks.
All right. And then, as I said, Anita will be joining us as a committee member after the next town council meeting. They have to vote formally for her to join. So with that, I think we can move to presentations and announcements. So we put the discussion of the loaner induction cooktops, which Judy was kind enough to offer to speak about, and Lovey's going to also speak about. So if you two want to take it away, that'd be great.
I'll start. We sort of divvy this up. We both borrowed one, and I'm going to talk about the program itself, what exists, etc. And then Lovey's going to talk about the little cooktop itself and the process of being the person who borrows it, how that goes. So I borrowed mine from Actera. Their program's been in place for several years, and they had a whole lot of information that they were willing to share with me. I got mine. There are a couple of people who act as point persons for them. I got mine from Debbie Mytels, who some of you may know because she's been very active in conservation and sustainability issues for decades in the local area. So I went and picked it up at her house. She provided me with a couple of publicity notices that they use. They have an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of the people who they loaned it out to and who's on the waiting list. There's a boilerplate stuff, a message to send to the people on the waiting list when their induction set is ready. There's a liability waiver form that Actera's attorneys approved. And there's some background information if we're thinking about writing a grant. My understanding is that Actera and several other Bay Area loaner systems were all funded by one source. And unfortunately, I can't remember what that source is right now. I can't find the little note I had it written down on. But she implied that we should, if we decide to do it ourselves, we should look to them. They actually have the bandwidth to do this for people in Portola Valley. So one of the questions is, do we want to reinvent the wheel here? We had talked about doing it ourselves and doing it through the library. She said that there are places that do it through something like that. They had a preference for doing it through individuals, having a few point people, because then the person they meet you in person when you do it, and they kind of explain it and they answer questions you have and that sort of thing. It just personalized in a way they thought was more impactful. But if we wanted to, we could just piggyback on the Actera program rather than, as I say, reinventing the wheel here. That's basically it. I didn't circulate all this info to you guys because I thought it would be overkill that we're just talking about it in general, especially with the possibility that it might be more sensible to do it through Actera with us just sort of co-sponsoring it or being the people who advertise it locally rather than really doing the whole thing. But it's all set up. It would be very easy for us to do it with either the library or a few of us being the point of access, because everything you need is already done, basically. Okay, that's my part.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So Actera, that's a company? What is
Actera is a local nonprofit that focuses on conservation and sustainability.
Okay.
They do a lot of reclamation work. If you know green, what is it? He called it grassroots.
Green at Home.
Pardon?
Green at Home program.
No, it's grass, they split off, and
They
the
split
stuff
off
that deals more with habitat restoration is
Right.
called grassroots ecology, and that's run
Right.
out of Alex Van Felt here in Portola Valley.
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
But they used to be under the Actera umbrella as well.
Right.
And Actera moved more into focusing more on sustainability, energy efficiency, and sort of lecture circuits and that sort of thing.
Right. Sort of the same division that exists here in town between Sustainability Committee focusing on what it does and Conservation Committee focusing on what it does. Right.
Mhm. And Actera is active in the whole Bay Area, loaning these systems out, right?
South Bay
South Bay.
mostly,
Uh-huh, okay, thanks.
but there are sister programs around the Bay.
Great, thank you.
Okay, my part is actually, I borrowed one and cooked with it, so I can report on that. But I also can maybe do something that you were looking for, Judy. PICA, does that ring a bell? PICA,
Stands for,
Peninsula Interfaith Climate Action. They meet the first Monday of each month, and Debbie Mytels is the
Mhm.
leader. She's
don't-
got her finger in
Yeah.
a lot of stuff.
I don't think that was
That wasn't the group. Okay, that's kind of interesting because you know who is a member of that group is a man by the name of Walt Hayes.
Yeah.
What's coming around? Anyway, I borrowed mine, having gone to the Earth Day thing at the Valley Presbyterian Church and signed up and got it from a woman named Ann Cornelius, who lives in Menlo Park. She, interestingly, and Valley Presbyterian Church, they belong to this PICA group, which is a member of the California Interfaith Power and Light group, which I knew nothing about. But if you go to their webpage, California Interfaith Power and Light, they're in Oakland, and there's a South Bay, Palo Alto based chapter called the Peninsula Interfaith Climate Action, that PICA, the one Walt Hayes, there's a guy named Walt Hayes involved, and Debbie Mytels runs it. I got mine from a woman in that group who is the organist at St. Bede's, obviously by the name Interfaith. This is a group of churches who have focused on climate change and energy efficiency and things like that. And I encourage you all actually to go to their webpage, to the Interfaith Power and Light or to PICA, because it's amazing. They're how do I say it? They have announcements of political changes and things. Obviously, you know, Biden's signing the bill is on there and all that. So it sort of shifts down to the local level to this PICA group, and a woman named Ronnie Fisher, who's the organist at St. Bede's, who then the people at the Valley Presbyterian Church got in touch with for their Earth Day fete. And but anyway, Ronnie emailed me recently and gave me the update on how she got hers. She wrote a grant to the, how did it go here? She wrote a grant to the California Clean Air Act and got 5 of the things for $1,000. I mean, she wrote a grant for $1,000, which bought 5 of these 2-burner units. And it's amazed me. It's through the same group that smog alerts. I mean,
Right.
You can.
That may be that's probably the group that Debbie was talking about when she talked about to me about, you know, looking to money for them. But you got a double burner one. I got a single burner one.
No, I borrowed a double burner one.
Yeah.
And so to that end, it was straight out of the box. I was the first person to open it up. It's about 3 feet wide by 2 feet deep. 2 big burners, giant burners with dials. And you have to have magnetic cookware to use it. So you need a magnet to check if your cookware is magnetic. Fortunately, I cook almost exclusively with cast iron. So I was in business. I found that it heated very rapidly. I don't know how it cooled rapidly. I wasn't going to put my fingers on it afterwards,
Yeah.
but I understand it cools rapidly too. once you remove the magnetic, contact. I guess what I'd have to say is I'm a slapdash cook, and I kept worrying about cracking the top. It looks like it's glass. I don't know if it is.
It is.
Okay. And I, with my heavy cast iron skillets and things, and like I say, I kind of slap things down, and that's the kind of cook I am. It was it worked fine. I'm not sure, at my age, that I'm willing to rip out my old range and get a new one. But I think it's a great program, and especially for people who are remodeling or, getting new appliances, it gives you a chance to test out, what it's like to cook with an induction cooktop. So I think it's a great program, and I was amazed that the thing only cost $200. Now, they probably got a very reduced price through this California Clean Air Act group. But anyway.
No, you can get them on Amazon, just get little single burner for $100 and something. So they're not
really?
expensive. Yeah.
Okay.
And we
I
should,
mean, if you want a real one for your kitchen, then obviously it's going to cost more, but
Yeah.
but if you're
And the thing of it is, you just plug it into a 110 outlet. So,
yeah, we should.
anybody can borrow them.
It has to,
Maybe.
you're saying it has to be magnetic. I would have thought that it's eddy current heating, and so as long as it's metallic, that would work.
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
So the thing I got from Acterra was a little more than 1x1, and
Mhm.
it came in a carrying kit with a little magnet to check, and
Wow.
with a saucepan, an appropriate saucepan that would work on it,
Yeah.
and a whole bunch of literature along with it. So it was sort of a little, suitcase to take it all home with all the input. It
That's a
occurs to
good
me that
idea.
might be a really, so that's that would be the way we should package it up if we do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Seems to me it's an ideal time in the next 6 months to 12 months to sort of push this, if there's going to be a big move towards people putting in JADUs and ADUs, because
Mhm.
this is a way to, get that section of your kitchenette handled fairly inexpensively. And I'm not a gourmet cook, so I can't speak to the issue that, people cook with gas, say, oh my God, I could never cook on anything but gas. It certainly was more responsive and easier to cook with them. I have an electric one, that's slow to heat, slow to get off. The food you turn it off and it still cooks a while. This thing didn't do that. It was very
Yeah.
responsive. So much more like cooking with gas.
So I have an induction cooktop. I've had it for many years, actually, and I adore it. I can't imagine going back to gas. Just the fumes alone.
Right.
I find that atrocious, having all these really toxic fumes in my house. So whatever I can do to get rid of them. And then for cooking, it's fabulous because you can simmer at a very low temperature, and you can also you can stick it on very high and boil water in a couple minutes. So I find it meets all my needs. The thing with the magnetic cookware, and in a minute I could go run get it, but if you don't have cookware that's magnetic, and not all stainless steel is, though you can, if you're buying new pots, you obviously you could buy stainless steel that has the little magnetic, sort of the iron in the middle of the layers. If you don't have that, there's no reason to throw out all your expensive pots. You can just buy a little magnetic platter that then you set on the induction cooktop, and then you can use all your regular pots. The only negative is that you lose the sort of the energy efficiency of the machine, because you're not really heating things via magnet anymore. You're not stimulating the water molecules to shake, which is what's happening with the magnet. Instead, you're doing that in this platter that then heats up. So then it becomes like a regular electric stove. But at least if you've got, super expensive pots, then you don't have to toss them out. So that does make a difference. In terms of breakage, I do have to say we've broken ours twice.
Mhm.
So the first time I didn't even think I'd done anything, but I just set down a bag of frozen fruit on it and it shattered. And then the second time my husband got a little aggressive with pounding some mashing potatoes, and then it cracked as well. The advantage for the one that I have, which is the KitchenAid, is that it was not that expensive to fix it, and I did it myself. So I just ordered the part. They delivered it, and then I just popped out the old one and popped in the new one. It was really easy to do. It was like $300 to replace it. So now we're super hyper careful. And I have to warn anybody that comes to the house, don't you push anything on here, no, nothing forceful. So maybe they're doing a better job with providing a little more support, maybe, I don't know, but that is something to keep aware of.
I wanted to bring up a little bit of an aside. If there's going to be any literature about this that goes out to the community, one thing I recently learned is that most fire, I don't know if this has been brought up before, most fires after earthquakes are from natural gas hookups. And so, you know, if people, you know, we talk about the heater, we talk about the water heater, and now this, and then this is probably the last thing, and most people are getting rid of their fireplaces and fireplace starters, things like that. So one more reason to move in this direction is that this is the main cause of fires after earthquakes, which would be a very big deal around here. One more little piece of motivation.
Great.
Yeah, good idea.
All right, that's great. I mean, this clearly could be something that goes into one of our public service announcements in the coming months. So the availability of these through the Actera program. So
So
Thank
Scott,
you.
I'll send to you all the links to all the info that I got, and then you
Okay.
can circulate it as you see fit.
great. Thank
And
you.
I'll send you the stuff about this interfaith group too.
Perfect.
And if we move forward with the picnic, do you think we could borrow one of them for the picnic?
I'll
To
ask
display
Ann,
it?
Probably.
Well, I
because
thi-
Ann has 5 of them out, and
Maybe we should
Sally-
get the one that comes
ahead.
with the whole kit, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
don't
think-
know. Or maybe we
Just
should
for
get
a
one of
demonst-
these. Do
Just
both.
for a demonstration, though, if we have it at
Yeah.
the picnic, you're not going to give it away to anybody. You're just going to
Right.
show it. Make tea. You know, we'll bring a teapot and make tea for everybody.
Plug it in somewhere.
If I have my Rivian by then with the induction stove it comes with, then I'll bring that.
Does it really?
Well, it's, yeah, but it's been 3.5 years, so it really depends on when the picnic is.
It's coming up. It's coming up pretty soon. So,
Right around the corner.
yeah. So okay. So let's see. There's a fair amount to cover tonight. I suggest we move forward. The big thing that we have to face is the fact that there is a picnic, and so that's later in the agenda. But we haven't really talked about it yet, and time is short. So we're gonna have to decide whether we're gonna do something, and if so, what. So in the interest of keeping things moving, we need to approve the minutes. Are there any suggested corrections or additions to the minutes? Yep.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
move that we accept the minutes as is.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes? Well, actually, Christy has a comment. I don't know, does that relate to the, I'm going to unmute you, Christy. Does that relate to the minutes?
Yeah, it's just, I think I was at this meeting and I'm not sure I was listed. Do you see my name there?
I don't believe you were at the last meeting. Were
Maybe
you?
I came in the middle and
Yeah.
ended something, but I would like to be listed if I was, I believe I heard part of the talk.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
We can add you to the list of people who attended.
I could be wrong, but maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so with that one modification, all those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Anybody opposed? No. Okay, great. Minutes are approved with that one change to include Christie as an attendee. The old business, we've got updates from Brandy and Marianne. Marianne can't make it tonight, but maybe Brandy probably has something. So Brandy?
Hi, nice to see you all again. Sorry that I missed the July and August meetings. I have a few updates for you tonight. I know a few of you were at the last council meeting where we held a study session with the town council on the update to the green building ordinance that we've been working on for a few years. And the main thing to note about the green building ordinance is staff recommended to the council that we remove the town's reliance on the Build It Green Greenpoint rated system going forward, because it has made it very difficult for the town to update the ordinance every 3 years when the building code updates. And because Cal Green has advanced so much over the last several years, in combination with the additional requirements that we have around EV charging, gray water readiness, and solar readiness, the council supported the decision to move away from the Build It Green system. And so the main things to note about what we brought to the council are that they are supporting all electric build for all new construction, so residential, multifamily, and commercial. In addition, we've sort of upgraded our the EV portion of the ordinance to be truly EV ready. We had an EV readiness in there, but as Cal Green advanced, what we called EV ready was EV capable. So now we've brought the recommendation up to be truly EV ready, which means you can just plug a charger in. We had also discussed with the council having pre-wiring for battery backup, but that is actually going to become part of the standard building code, so we don't need to include that as part of the ordinance. And then the other thing to note is that in working with the consulting building official, he recommended, based on his experience in other jurisdictions, that we include some wiring in existing buildings at the time that anything was done to the electrical panel. So this is really the first time we've been able to have a trigger in existing buildings to get at electrification. And so basically it would be pre-wiring for a heat pump water heater, and then some modifications around air conditioning and heat pump heaters. And so that was pretty significant, I think. And so that will come back to the council on October 12th for them to actually vote on the ordinance in conjunction with the building code adoption.
So pre-wiring, so that means adding some extra, what are those things called?
Breakers.
Extra breakers and amps to be able to support those kinds of appliances?
Well, there's some triggers when the electrical panel is upgraded. So when you basically have an electrician already on site, it's bringing wiring to where the water heater would be, bringing wire to where the furnace would be. And then if you're replacing the air conditioner, there's some specifics around making sure it has the heat pump condensing unit. So as you might know, when your water heater breaks, you need your hot water right away, and so you normally just end up replacing it with whatever the plumber has. This would make it so that, if you were doing work on your electrical panel, you would have what you needed in place to replace your existing electric water heater, gas water heater with a heat pump water heater, because the wiring would already be there and you wouldn't have to get a plumber and an electrician out.
So is the assumption that if somebody's pulling a permit to upgrade their panel, that they would also be, if they don't even have 100 amp service, they would also be increasing it to 100 or even 200 amp? Or is that going to be part of the?
There's some specific triggers. Why don't I send out what we proposed to the committee, and then you can have those specific details before we go to the council on the 12th. So I'll make a note to send that out. Any other questions on the green building ordinance update before I move on to the other updates? Lovely.
Yeah. If the council, passes this changes, when is this going to go into effect? What's the cycle?
It would go into we have set it up so that it would go into effect on January 1st, 2023 with the other building code adoptions. And depending on the town attorney's advice, we have to, once the council adopts it, we have to send the updates to the California Energy Commission for approval, and that normally takes 60 days. So that's why we're doing it several months in advance of the January 1st deadline. But it is something we've been talking with the council with since the last triannual update of the building code.
What was the organization that you have to send it to?
The California Energy Commission. So
thanks.
anytime you do any
Right.
updates to the energy code, you have to send it to the California Energy Commission for approval. Anytime you enact anything that's more restrictive than the state code.
Okay.
And then we also have to send it to the Building Standards Commission, but you're just, with the Building Standards Commission, you're just letting them know what you've done. It's not an approval process. So then moving on to the climate action plan, as I mentioned a couple of meetings ago, I've been working with an intern over the summer, Hala, on our climate action plan. And we have also been working with a consultant that is hired by the county. And the consultant finished our greenhouse gas emissions inventories through 2019, as well as going back to 2005 and redoing the inventories based on the current methodology. And so now the consultant is using the greenhouse gas emissions inventory to plug it into the forecasting tool that was developed by the county, as well as the menu of measures. And so that should be done sometime in September. And once that's done, we are going to meet with the subcommittee to review that. And then we are also developing a plan to do outreach to the community at large. And we will bring that to the committee as well to talk to you about what we've discovered with the inventory and the menu of measures. So that is pretty exciting. Any questions on the climate action plan before I move on to the next update?
So is there some type of action that occurs once the climate action plan is, I guess, approved or what have you? Is there something that then triggers that the community then has to do, or?
I mean, not exactly. So the climate action plan, depending on how it's adopted, can be used in many different ways by a municipality, but it really depends on what measures are decided that would have the most impact in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And so most likely once it's decided, those measures are decided upon, there would be a timeline for, trying to enact them. As you might remember or might know, I mean, with Peninsula Clean Energy and having 100% renewable electricity through Peninsula Clean Energy, our main kind of wedge in the greenhouse gas emissions inventory is natural gas use across all building types. So that's going to be the main target for greenhouse gas emissions reductions. It's a little bit more difficult in the transportation sector because we don't have as much control over that as with buildings.
So the new measures that might be recommended to reduce the gas, natural gas usage, those are part of the climate action plan, and then the town council votes on to adopt the climate action plan, but then they further have to do some things to implement those measures. Is that right? Yeah.
Exactly. So they'll adopt the climate action plan, which will include the measures. But then, yes, then the measures have to be implemented, and that's where the rubber hits the road. So
yeah.
I have 2 cents on some of the measures. One is in Portola Valley, we have 10% electric cars, but our parking spaces, both in the town and in the residents, and the Alpine Hills and at Roberts, do not have 10%. Whatever the right metric is, we've fallen, far short of keeping up with the vehicle demand. And then the other suggestion is that the plan should keep Peninsula Clean Energy honest in terms of having targets for renewable coincident power, just like Jeff was describing. So the renewable power does us no good if we just buy renewable energy credits. And that should be an important part of the plan, to make sure that someone does their part to pay for storage.
Similarly,
Understood.
so much of that energy from Peninsula Clean Energy comes from far away, and we get it just because we have enough money to pay for it. But like hydro in Washington should go to people in Washington, you know, and we have the luxury of this because this town has the money for it, but it's not an actual kind of representation of a town having clean energy because we're not making hardly any of it other than the solar on our rooftops. So it's a little bit of a farce.
Mhm.
And I would love to see PCE address that.
Well, I think aren't they building a huge solar thing in Reno or something in the desert? I don't know that would address it though. It's just
That wouldn't,
pretty far away.
but it wouldn't address the storage.
Not to mention that a lot of our hydro is probably going to disappear.
Right.
Yeah.
Any more comments from the, I see there's a question from Christy, and I don't know whether you want to finish your updates and then we could have her ask a question, or do you have?
I'll defer to you. What would you like me to do?
Well,
I mean,
maybe-
then we could get all the questions at once.
Yeah,
I guess.
Christy, maybe you could ask your question if it's related to these. I'm asking you to unmute. So go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think the residents would be extremely interested in what Brandy's talking about, because it really changes anybody that builds anything in town. So in the future, if you do an update such as this, could it be in the digest, the green building ordinance that you're talking about? So if we were to look at the minutes, we would see all the details. So that you presented it at council, you presented it here. I'd highly recommend a postcard going out to every residence, because not everybody goes to these meetings and not everybody is on PV Forum, especially the older folks. So I just want to make sure that we hit everyone in town with this. And I found the presentations really informative. I didn't realize you could break it, such as Rebecca said. So I've just purchased one and I'm going to be very careful. So thank you. Those are just some requests. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, Brandy, you want to continue with any updates?
The only other updates that I have are in relation to this smart water meters. I know that you had the presentation and discussion with Cal Water at your last meeting. Staff has met with Cal Water. They are still doing research to respond to some of the questions that Rebecca and the committee had around that, and how, you know, folks can make the best use of the smart water meters. So as soon as I have more of an update on that, I will report back to the committee. And then I also did, I'm not sure, I didn't see it on the agenda, but Melvin and I discussed the update to the WELO. And I wondered, Lovey, I heard you say that you were planning to meet with staff. And so when I spoke to Melvin, he was he was interested, I guess, in you all were, his understanding was that there were going to be a set of recommendations that potentially would go to planning, and that we like basically we need to understand what is wanted there. And I was curious who you had engaged with in planning, because we want to be respectful of all of the work that planning is doing right now and make sure that we engage them when they are able. But I can also offer support. I was very involved with the first iteration of the WELO, and I have a pretty good understanding of it, as well as the challenges in implementation. So do you know who you are planning to meet with on the planning staff? When
No,
you said, no,
no.
okay.
Cheyenne said she had talked to, and I can't remember the guy's name right now, but they were going to choose somebody in planning to meet with me and Al, because
Okay.
I read the entire ordinance, and it's complicated, really complicated, and I need some help in understanding. And I'd like to see, I need to talk to somebody and see things more so than just a copy of the ordinance, to see some actual, plans that people submit.
Mhm.
And so Cheyenne is going to, Al has agreed that it'd be a good meeting. So we're going to get together in the next couple of weeks, I hope. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
the
who we're
WELO
planning.
can't, it's hard for the WELO for, a regular person to implement it
Yeah.
in their own house. So you end up having to shell out several $1,000s to somebody to come out and, check your property and, figure out how to implement it, and then to come back after the gardeners have installed it to make sure that it was done properly. It's
Well,
very
yeah,
complex.
It needs a certified so-and-so to sign off on it. Yeah, a homeowner, sounds to me like a homeowner couldn't sign off on it. They need some kind of, CFA or certified
I
land.
think there's what's the word? There's a level. If you're doing a certain size of landscaping, then you have to go through that thing. And if the size of your project is below that,
Yeah, 2,500 square feet. Yeah.
then you don't have to go to quite such a rigorous
Right.
one.
But I wanted to understand the whole thing, because, it's a little leaky from what I understand. And we want to plug some leaks.
Brandy, is
So
that,
maybe just, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna ask, is that a meeting that you would want to be involved in?
I think maybe just Lovey, if you and Al can keep me in the loop so I can update Melvin, and we can make sure that you're getting the support that you need, but that we're also being respectful of what, all of the things that planning has to do this year. And then I want to make sure that the committee knows that while the town adopted the model ordinance from BASCWA, the Bay Area Water, I can't remember the rest of the acronym, we are required by the state of California to have this ordinance. And so I just wanted you to know that there's like multiple the layers, and so part of its complexity is what has filtered down from the state. But yes, I mean, it's wonderful that you all are looking at it and trying to fill the holes. And we certainly don't want it to be the case that when that someone is able to have more landscaping or more grass just because they have landscaped more of their property. So it's great that you're looking at it, but maybe just keep me in the loop so I can keep Melvin in the loop and make sure that you're getting the support you need and planning isn't
Okay,
inundated.
Randy, can I forward you the emails that Cheyenne and I have exchanged?
Certainly, that would be great. That would be great.
Okay, I can do that, because there's a name in there, I think, of somebody in the planning department she suggested. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And that, unless anyone has any questions, that concludes my updates.
Great, thank you. Okay, before we move on to the next item, Christy, you have a question? Please go ahead.
So sorry, but I guess I'm a resident and I'm interested. What is WILO? WILO? Can you?
WELO, WELO.
Okay.
It's the water efficient landscaping ordinance, and it's something that's required by the state of California. And I can't remember exactly when it was updated, but I think the last iteration of it was in the last major drought.
I think it was 2016. 2016.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in the future, in the digest, could we have information on WELO and information on the green building ordinance, since we're not going with the previous one. That would be extremely important for all residents. Thank you.
The information, Christy, is for WELO and the Green Building Ordinance are all on our website. So I would suggest you start there, and Google is your friend.
I know Google is my friend, and it's just nice when you're talking about things. I would just glance down under the agenda and I'd read about it. I wouldn't even ask this question right now.
Well, the purpose
Yeah.
of the committee, which you don't seem to understand, and several people in Portola Valley have trouble understanding that, the purpose of our committee meetings is not Sustainability 101. So if you need that, why don't you come to the committee and ask for us to put on some type of seminar, and maybe we can try and schedule a separate seminar about Sustainability 101, because that's not the purpose of our committee meetings.
Well, I am a resident as well, and so are you.
Yes, but it's still not the purpose of a committee meeting to have Sustainability 101 classes for residents.
Yeah, I mean,
The
we have
purpose
to,
of our committee is to discuss things that the council has given us to debate about and figure out what the best way of informing residents about sustainability. So if you need 101 beginner classes on sustainability, I suggest you spend some time on our website and use Google. And then if you feel the need that you think that it would be useful for us to provide education about some of these topics to people who are never going to ever have any relationship to it, because most people in town are not doing major landscaping plans. They're not remodeling their homes. We can consider that, adding that to our education, a part of our activities. I suggest you come, we're talking about the town fair. Come to the town fair. We'll be there to provide some information about sustainability.
okay, I think we should probably keep moving. Let's see, next we have, so there's under old business, we have the public service announcement planning, and I want to do that, but under new business, we have two topics. We have the town picnic preparations, and we have some remarks from Steve Levin, who has now joined us. Steve has been shepherding groups to do some greenhouse gas climate change simulations. It looked like it was a really interesting thing, and I invited Steve to come and just give a brief summary of what he's been doing, and then we can deliberate later about whether we as a committee want to do that. Working with Steve, we want to have that as a separate meeting. We want to announce it publicly, whatever. We can, a variety of ways we can go forward. But Steve, could you just summarize what you've been doing, and then we can go from there?
Sure, I'll be glad to. Thanks for the invitation. I actually want to get on my computer, and I need a moment to, where is this?
Well, before we get to Steve,
Usually-
maybe we can quickly do, are there any updates from Marianne?
Marianne's, oh, she's not with us, and she said she did not have any
Okay.
significant updates for today. So
And then
sorry.
are we skipping the public service announcement planning right now?
We're not skipping. We're
Okay.
what I understood is we can move the order of agenda items around, and I just wanted to be sensitive to Steve's involvement because he just joined, and I think his discussion will be relatively brief, so we could do that and then move.
Well, I would hate to be sued by the town for not having agreed as a committee to postpone one of these events to a different time.
Well, that's
So
a
we
good
probably need
point.
to do a motion to move
That's a
public
good
service planning to a
point.
later
Rebecca,
time.
yes. Is there a motion to move Steve Levin's portion forward and then go back to the old business public service announcements? Is there such a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to change the order.
I second.
All those in favor of changing the order?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have changed the order. Thank you, Rebecca.
Alright. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you for the invitation. And first, I just want to thank all of you for your unsung heroic work in helping us be the town we want to be. I think I just listening for a few minutes gives me a sense of there's a lot here. So thank you for doing what you're doing. I have been a climate advocate for about 10 years, working with different large organizations as a consultant and as a trainer. And recently I ran across something called En-ROADS. And I was so taken by this, by the power of this simulation model to give insights to the climate challenge, that I went to an extensive training program and just been certified as an En-ROADS ambassador. You do not need to call me Mr. Ambassador, please, you'll just embarrass me. But I am now giving presentations. I plan to give presentations to a lot of groups to engage them to understand the nature of the climate challenge and to be more savvy about what it's really going to take to create the world that we want. Because most people, as you can imagine, they are sympathetic, like, oh yeah, climate change, bad. We should definitely do something about that. And that's where it ends. They don't know what to do. They don't even know what the priorities are. So with your permission, the easiest way to do this is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to take you through a few ideas. And Scott, you said about 10 minutes, so feel free to give me a little ping here. So are you all seeing this, Choose Your Climate Future?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So this has two meanings. Choose as in we collectively can choose what our climate becomes. We have the power to do that as the people of the earth. We are not the victims. We have choices. The second thing is you as an individual watching this have choices about how you participate. So in this presentation, I take them through the Energy Rapid Overview and Decision Support Mechanism. It just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? En-ROADS. And the idea is to give a quick overview of how our climate system works and the dynamics of climate change, and then to support people to identify what really matters to create a more just and sustainable world, because it's not obvious. And by the end, people should have an idea of where they might focus and what they can do to help our whole system, the Earth, have a more livable world. So this has been developed over many years by Climate Interactive, a nonprofit, and the MIT School of Management and their sustainability initiative. And they have trained about 500 people like me to go out and spread the word. And of course, what they provide is the background of how climate change is bad and we're doing it, and how it's all, fossil fuels. I'm going very quickly. Fossil fuels are the main culprit to add all these greenhouse gases. I assume we all know this, and how it works and so forth, and what the greenhouse gases are. But this is the meat of it. I take people and show them this open source, well, not open source, publicly available on the internet right now, simulation model, and I show them how to use it. And I point out, notice that we're on track by the year 2100 for the temperature to rise by 3.6 degrees centigrade or 6.5 degrees Fahrenheit. We do not want that, because look what that would mean. That would spell climate disaster far beyond anything we've seen so far. So the question is, how can we choose to keep global average temperatures below 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius by the year 2100? And we play a game. We play a game together where we see what we can do to stay within that small range of 1.5 to 2 by the year 2100. And to do that, we create scenarios. So I actually show them this and I walk them through this so they can see. By the way, this has been, you're not the first. There's 190,000 people who have done this in 104 countries. And I walk them through the different parts of this graph because there's a lot of information. On the left, you can see this is where we get our energy, where we have gotten it and where we're predicted to get it. And I more than explain, I engage them to grapple with, what are you seeing here? What does it mean? Their conclusion is, oh, more and more energy is needed. And even though sustainability, renewables are going up, so is coal. That's strange. Why? Because if we let current trends continue, this is what we'll get. And that's what's going to lead to 3.6 degrees. So I walk people through very slowly about that. And I say, but we have choices. We can pull some of these levers and we can move them up and down and see exactly what's going to happen because of it. So you can look at the part that's above as the results that we get, and the parts that below as the levers we can pull to make a difference. And when I say we, I mean us as the planet Earth. This is not appropriate for Portola Valley or the state of California. This is treating the whole system, and it gives that big picture overview. I also point out that in this control panel, which is all of these levers down below, I take them through what all of these are. Look at how many ways. There are 18 different ways that we can affect global greenhouse emissions. Some of them are things that we do, like increase the efficiency of energy. Some are things that we either allow or encourage or discourage, like the use of coal. And some are things that maybe we may not choose to do, like capping the population, but it does have an impact, population and economic growth. It's a holistic model of the whole system. And after orienting people to all this, and I take them through this, I'm sorry for the extremely rapid thing. I also point out that there are benefits to each of these levers. For instance, if you tax coal, you're going to reduce a lot of air and water pollution and improve health. And there are equity considerations. For instance, if you tax coal, energy is going to be more expensive and low-income people are going to be hit more. There are benefits and there are equity considerations for each of these. So we're dealing with a whole system. Now, I've never sped through this like it's 60 miles an hour like I'm doing now. So if you're overwhelmed, I take time to take people through this so they understand, oh, we are looking at a whole system and we need to figure out how fast and effective we can be in lowering greenhouse gases, and also what the benefits are and the equity considerations. And then we start to go. And here I flip to, let me escape from this. I flip to the actual simulator, and here it is. It looks like a screenshot, but it's not. So let me ask you all, of all these things that you see, what is one thing that you might change in order to lower the temperature in the year 2100? Pick one.
Methane.
All right. So we could actually take methane and say, let's imagine we decrease methane by that much. I actually wouldn't do this. I would have you guess how big a deal is that. You're going to guess higher than it is because it turns out it doesn't do that much. We can take a look and we can see what the assumptions are and the kinds of methane that are being reduced. We can also look and zero in just on that. Or we can say, gee, we got down from 3.6 to 3.3. That's good. And then we talk about why methane only moves that far. It has to do with a lot of factors. I won't go into them now. Then someone says, well, what about renewables? Let's subsidize them. Okay, let's subsidize. What do you think that'll do? I have people guess. I then show them, gee, even though you subsidize renewables, why does it go down only 0.1 degrees? If you want to see that again, here it is, 3 times fast. Going from 3.3 to 3.2. You see renewables are going up. But what do you notice about coal? Anybody? As this goes up and down, what do you notice? What happens to all the others on the left?
Nothing.
They go down a little, but not
A
much.
little, but not much.
No, nothing. How
Right.
about nuclear?
Okay. What about nuclear?
Okay.
We're going to do nuclear now. Okay. I'm going to pause.
Okay, stop.
Because you guys, you can see.
Yeah.
I know if I don't pause, Scott's going to interrupt. me.
No. You've whet our
This is what
appetite.
we do.
This is exactly what I was hoping to convey. And so this is right when it gets super interesting. And so I think the question for the committee is, how might we want to engage this tool? Do we want to, and I don't think we should decide that right now because we've got a lot more tonight, but I wanted people to see this and be aware of the resource so that we can then decide, do we want to host an event? Do we want to have it just be it can't be just our committee, but our committee plus members of the public, what do we want to do with it?
Well, I don't get a vote, but I'd like to make an offer and for you to consider.
Okay.
And that is, I'm going to be showing this to various groups, and it deserves to be seen widely because the conclusions people will reach, if you don't mind the spoiler alert, is that we will never get to our goals unless we keep coal, oil, and gas in the ground. Doesn't matter how much nuclear, doesn't matter how much renewable, doesn't matter how efficient we are, all those things help. But you have to do what is unpopular. And that is confrontative for people. And suddenly people go, oh, well, what can I do about that? And then we pivot to the various ways that we can address that. And my offer would be to have a public presentation, hopefully in person, in the town center, to publicize it well, to get people interested, and then to have a community discussion and exploration where we're solving this together. I can do it on Zoom, it works well, but in person is also very powerful. And in about 2 hours, that's the amount of time you really take, people will walk away with a lot of insight about what it really takes. And frankly, my own point of view is if we're serious about solving global climate change, we need to move people away from saying, what can I do by, by conserving water? People are very confused. They think, if they use less plastic, it's going to affect global climate change. It's not. So we can focus people on what's really needed so that they don't.
Isn't half the plastic in the world made from coal?
A lot of plastic is made from petroleum.
It's made from coal in China. There's 192 coal gasifiers in China.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's
they turn
power.
it into ethylene, polyethylene, and the carbon footprint of all your plastic is 3 times as high as you think it is.
Right. It's complex. So you raise a good point. The source of your energy to make plastic and a lot of other things is very important. But the benefit for our community is to get a better perspective on what really moves the needle so that they can participate as citizens who have a voice.
Yeah.
The worldwide level.
That's
So I'll pause
really
there.
great. That's great, Steve. I hope people feel the intention was met of just getting an idea of what this is and how powerful it could be for people. And we just need to talk. We need to take some time to talk about what's the best venue for us to participate. So thank you, Steve. That was great.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for listening in. And I'd be happy to give a presentation to just whoever's interested.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm doing it. All right.
I guess if do you have a question, Jay? Or
No, I was just saying thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's
All
wonderful.
right. Thank you guys. Thanks for your service.
Yeah.
Later.
Oh, okay, so I'm sorry to be speeding things along, but we've got I think if we look at the agenda now under new business, there's one more item, and under old business, there's one more item. There's the town picnic, and then there's the public service announcements. We generally like to end by 8:30. I don't know whether that's going to work. Well, let's try for it. I guess if we go back to the agenda order, I'd like to share something right now. This is just a thing I put together to try to help us work through the public service announcements. So Ronnie, for your awareness, we decided that one of the leading ways we can impact sustainability is by just getting the word out, basically, providing information to people, and that one of the highest leverage ways to do that is through what we're calling public service announcements, meaning, emails and pieces that are written, put out on PV Forum, perhaps associated with posters that go up at Roberts and Town Center and things like that. That's a high leverage way for us to have an impact. And so we decided in an earlier meeting that we would do this, and we would strive to have one of these public service announcements come out each month. If we had the capacity to do more than that, that would be great. But I think if we did it once a month, that would be still good. Since there are now 6 members of the committee and there will be 7, the notion was to have each month led by one of us. Obviously, you don't have to write the whole thing. You could solicit content from others. You can repurpose content from some other source. And so if there's 7 of us, that means maybe every 2 months out of 14, each of us would do this. And our notion was that if you're going to be on the committee, that this ought to be, something that, each of us, each person is willing to do. So these are just thoughts. So, and let's see, I don't want to rush this too much. Let me just walk through the remaining bullets and then ask for discussion. An idea was to do this on the second Thursday of each month, because we could then have the announcement, but also include a reminder that the Sustainability Committee is meeting the next Thursday, and welcome people to join for that. This would be an email that would go out to PV Forum and perhaps other places like Nextdoor. It would be an email that would be sent from, I don't know who, from either us as individuals or maybe from our PV sustainability email address. I have an opinion on that. We thought that messages on drought and energy were the two really pressing ones to do. And given the season, we thought that maybe the initial messages could be on drought. And so Rebecca and I talked it over and put together a list where we sort of seed this with drought initially, then switch to global warming, back to drought, and a tentative schedule of who would be writing each of these in a given month, which is all totally open for discussion and refinement. And I'm assuming Ronnie, you'd want to pick one of these topics and help us with this, as would Anita once she joins. So let me stop there and just open it up for discussion, see what people think of that plan, and any adjustments or
Could you share your screen back again? Sorry.
Sure, yeah, sorry.
I think it's great. I would just want to see a sample, kind of an example. Is it just text? Does it include, graphics, pictures, etc.?
I think it's open. I mean, I think, we get to decide, and, if we wanted to have a really cool graphic with text, that works. If we wanted to do, if I like the idea of, I think we ought to pick what we can do and do reliably and repeatably. And so, if it's going to be just an email, that's fine. If it were going to be an email and a poster, that went around town, that would be awesome. But then we have to work the mechanics of producing the poster and putting it up. So I think that's a question for us. Do we want to have this be a, sort of pretty lightweight sort of email thing only, or do we want to have amplification of that with other kinds of collateral?
I would keep it short and simple.
Okay.
Some of us are not, well versed in making up graphics out of, that kind of stuff. Some are better at that than others.
Well,
And
on the production piece, though, I mean, if you find a data source and you want it just to be, beautified and made into something that, I could help, or others could help with that. So I think, the person who takes responsibility for a given month doesn't have to do everything. They just have to take the lead, and I think in conceptualizing what it's going to be about and drawing together the source materials. But then some of us might take on the sort of writing and editing and beautification part.
If we
Maybe
wanted
a
to
good,
compare it to the Conservation Committee, the way they do it, they're very short. They're like a couple paragraphs, and then usually they include some pictures of, of bad plants or whatever the topic is. They'll have a few pictures with just a few little paragraphs. They don't do something too complex. So people have a
I was
tendency
thinking
not
about
to
the
read much.
wildfire committee, wildfire preparedness committee that sends out something that sounds pretty similar to that as a model.
Well, maybe it would be good if we could take a look at Ronnie, could you send all of us one of those, an example of that, the wildfire one?
I could, I don't know how to do that, actually.
Yeah, okay, or send it to me and I can send it out to everybody. And one thing we have to be a little careful of
There-
is that we
You
You
not,
can't do that for the.
Yeah, I don't know
Brown
if you can do that. They,
Well, we
they
can-
are posted to PV Forum.
okay,
So,
You can distribute things by blind carbon copy.
yeah, as long as.
Yeah,
there's-
but not in the meeting. You can't send it to the committee. The chair can't send a message to the committee that's not out to the public.
Oh, correct.
That wasn't included in the agenda packet, so,
Wait, which
I
one?
could share it on the screen.
No, I didn't.
yes, you can do that.
Oh, I wasn't suggesting that he email it to all of us right now in the meeting. That would be a mistake. No, I was saying later.
Yeah, but even that you
Okay,
can't do, right?
You can
Uh,
send that as a BCC do not comment sort of thing.
yeah,
Just for information purposes, you're allowed to do that. We can't then each communicate about it
right,
with you.
Right, okay.
which is why
Um,
BCC, but you could send it just to me and I can work getting it out, but not now, No,
Okay.
no, yeah, that's one of the things from the lawsuit settlement. We can't be texting or emailing each other during a live meeting for any reason, basically. I mean, other than a family emergency or something. Okay. Okay, so,
Yeah, the
Other
one I'm looking at right now is just it has a bunch of bullet points. And it's talking about wildfire and preparedness apps. And so it lists a bunch of links to relevant apps that are available to the neighborhood and to the community to check on emergencies and wildfires and other disasters. So
mhm,
in this case, it's, it's a few paragraphs with about 10 links or so. And that's it. And this was sent out actually through the town. So Carrie sent this out through both the town email and the PV Forum. I do not know who actually wrote the article. Maybe please try. Yeah, I assume the committee actually wrote it and then they had her send it out sort of officially.
Brandy has a comment. Yes, Brandy?
I think a lot of they're written by the committee and then Carrie posts them. But if you go to the town website under the community tab and then Portola Valley Weekly Update, Carrie includes them in the weekly updates. And I
Right.
think they actually make one each week. So anyhow, that way you don't have to break any rules to get folks to be able to see it, but it's just the town website, community, Portola Valley Weekly Update.
Okay. So the notion of once a month and us taking turns doing it with drought and greenhouse gas emissions somewhat in this fashion, does that all seem reasonable?
It
Yeah.
seems reasonable to me. The question I have is one of approvals. Once it becomes excessive, then it becomes tedious doing this. So the question is, Conservation Committee's model is each writer or whatever comes and discusses the topic and gets approval on the topic. And then maybe one other person kind of helps edit something just to make sure you catch typos, but it doesn't go
Mhm.
through I don't think it goes through a big, long approval process. The only thing that they are approving is what the topic is going to be discussed, the specific topic for that week or that month. So I don't know if we want to put something in place like that, or if we want to be more relaxed about it and the person who has it has this overall topic and then they do what they think would be important or relevant.
I sort of prefer that because otherwise we're going to get into this, did we approve it at the meeting and then we can't interact with each other outside the meeting. And so, for example, yours in August, I guess we could discuss what you were thinking about for August.
I'm planning to do lawns.
Lawns.
Mhm.
Okay. Any objections to lawns?
Many objections to lawns. but-
Go for it. So I like the lightweight version where we trust each other and maybe you choose one other committee member to run it by and I think we want to be careful not to be overly finger wagging again toward people about you shouldn't do I mean I think there are certain tone issues that we might be able to refine if each of us just takes, works with one other person. Does that seem reasonable?
Mhm.
Okay. So Rebecca and Lovey, you're the first up to bat, and let us know if you want help. Ronnie, do you immediately see a place where you would be most interested in participating in this?
I mean, you can fill in my name, I guess, in one of the blanks. That's fine.
Okay, in terms of drought versus greenhouse gas topic, do you have one that's more close to your?
Maybe greenhouse gas, I guess.
Okay. All right. Okay, cool. All right. So what else? What other aspects of this do we need to talk about? Randy, do you have a comment?
I did. I wanted to mention that several years ago, I think it was with the Water Conservation Committee, I'm not sure, but we had loaned out a book called Community-Based Social Marketing. And for any of the committee members that still have that book or that are, interested, it's a really great book about messaging around environmental issues and how to engage the community around them, because there's actually there's a lot of research that has been done around how you get people to act. And I think too, just as we've witnessed sort of the political climate over the last several years, this has proven true. It really helps to figure out a way to tap into someone's emotions to get them to act. Providing facts and information will only get a very small percentage of folks to act. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that book again. And
Say
there
it
is
again,
a
Brandy.
website.
What was the title?
It's called the community. Well, it's called Fostering Sustainable Behavior, and it's about. It's written by Doug Mackenzie Moore, and it's about the concept is community-based social marketing, and it's sort of using marketing tactics for environmental engagement. But I've actually, anyway, I think it's a really interesting book, and it's interesting to kind of understand what is effective when you're engaging folks in these topics. So I just thought it was worth mentioning as you all embark on these announcements. And when I'm back in the office again, I'll actually see if we have any copies of the books there, and I'll let Scott know if anyone's interested. We had at one point several copies of it.
I think I have it still somewhere, I think.
Lovey?
What was the main point again of what was there? What was their recommendation? Their high level.
Hopefully I get this right, but I mean it's that we, for those folks on the committee and for myself, I think we think that if you just give folks the information, it will translate into action. If they know that, if they know, like, sort of the implications, sort of as Steve was showing us, of methane and coal, that will get them to think about renewable energy. And that doesn't hold true. It's like more you have to tap into something that emotionally that gets them to act. And so, I mean, you can think of like climate change and your children not being able to see, a forest or something. I mean, I'm simplifying it, but something like that, some personal experience or some way that you
dying polar bears.
Yeah.
But
so something like that,
but you also have to not depress people. You have to give them enough.
Yes, agreed. And actually, that I don't think he's still on the. I know we're recording this. I don't think Steve Levin is still there. So one of my biggest concerns with his presentation, and I wanted to reach out to him and see about what the solutions were. So in the very beginning of my foray at the town, we had several speakers that you gave very powerful talks, but at the end there were no solutions, and people just leave completely depressed and incapacitated. And so, yeah, I think not do, did you say doom and gloom? I can't remember, Jason, but yeah, giving them something that they can do, that they can translate into personal action, with whatever message you're sending.
Well, I think these public service announcements will definitely do that because they're going to be, local action oriented. Lovey, I was going to ask, as the person with the greatest focus on books, would you be willing to read the book and give us a book report? Does that interest you? Are you interested in reading it and telling us what you
Oh, you mean this book that she suggested?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I've sort of tapered off reading the doom and gloom climate change books.
Okay. So this is the new
I mean,
genre.
I've become paralyzed.
This is a new genre. So yeah, if you'd be willing to read it and then just distill for us what you think are the most important things for us, that would be fantastic.
But just a quick question, because I see it's coming up in September and I've got this WELO thing too. Can we just simply, on our public service announcements, take something we think is an interesting thing we've read, or it's in a news article or this or that, and post that and say, use that? Can we,
Sure. I mean, I think, yes. Hopefully it would have a twist of what a person can do, but like for the background, yes, I think so. I mean, I think.
Well, I mean, recently the governor had a big press conference about water problems in California.
Mhm.
And, I don't know how that's going to impact us exactly, because I haven't read the fine print, but stuff like that. Could you just say heads up alert, alert
Yes.
people to,
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's
so.
important to
Yeah.
let people know that we're in a severe drought and people need to do a little more.
yeah, okay. I mean, so we can just, pass on like information that's published somewhere else and say, I think this is something that, requires, or that, might interest you, take a second look or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that, yes, I think that's great. One thing I would like to clarify, I personally think that emails coming from us as individuals are going to be more powerful than if all these emails came out from the PV Sustainability Gmail account. I like that account and I like having that branding, but I'm just a little worried that if people see an email from PV Sustainability, if they have some slight reaction to the sustainability topic, we won't even get in the door. And if it comes from one of us as an individual, I'm a member of the PV Sustainability Committee and I thought this was really interesting, that might get to more people. I'd be curious what others think.
I feel like it's the opposite. I think there's so much traffic on the PV forum that individual names kind of get lost.
Okay.
Versus PV Sustainability, just like Climate Conservation Committee, you kind of know they're sending something from the committee. I don't know, that's my personal feeling, but
I agree with Rebecca.
Okay.
I've seen it on the forum and I like, it surprised me and I thought, wow, that's great. We're doing something good.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
reaching out.
Okay.
And when you put names on it, even if you do say a member of the Sustainability Committee, I don't know. I feel more comfortable doing it under the rubric of the Sustainability Committee, period.
Right. I'll go with that.
You can just do both. On the second Thursday, do it from you. On the fourth Thursday, do it from the committee. The same thing. Take an extra 2 minutes. And then you get both groups of people.
I mean, that's true. I don't know. How do people feel about that?
or reverse it. Have the sustainability first. That way we can add the little blip about showing up at the meeting, and then you can resend it a couple weeks later and say, oh, in case you missed this.
Individual. That sounds like a great idea.
Yes, I would say, I think we should do it the way that the wildfire committee does it, which is to have the town send it out. And then you also tap into the notification system that through the Portillo Valley Communications, and then it also ends up in the town weekly update.
Yeah, the one Carrie sends those out, right?
Yeah, the one that Carrie sends out.
Preparedness. Yeah. What do people think about that?
I have mixed feelings about that, having anything that goes through the town has to go through a tremendous level of approvals. So you'll just have to add a lot of time, give it a good 2 weeks before you want it to go out. So just so that Carrie can get it properly vetted throughout the town admin, just be aware that that's what happens. So though it would be, though it definitely would be nice to have it sent out to at least to a wider audience than the PV forum for sure. But
well, maybe the first one that you're going to do, Rebecca, has to go out directly from PV Sustainability, just given that it's in August. But we could. Do you know how that works, Ronnie? Do you know how the wildfire preparedness group does it?
I do.
Oh, Brandy, hi. You have your hand up. Educate
I'm
us.
trying to follow the proper procedure. So a few times I have actually filled in for Carrie doing that newsletter, and I will check with Carrie and Melvin, my boss, but I don't think that it goes through an extensive approval process. I think that they send it by Tuesday, so that Carrie can include it in the Thursday newsletter, but I don't think it's onerous anymore. But I will, if you would like, I can check in with Carrie and Melvin and just see what that would look like if the committee wanted to do that.
Great. Yeah, I mean, if it can be fairly lightweight and we can just send it to Carrie by a Tuesday and have it go out that Thursday, that would be great. That'd be wonderful.
I'll check and I'll report back to you directly, Scott, if that sounds like an appropriate.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
that's perfect. Okay. All right. Great. I think we have maybe nailed that one down. So now, last but not least, is the picnic. So I think that's the last item on our agenda, is to talk about the picnic. Picnic is coming up real soon. It's September 17th. And we haven't talked about it yet. So I talked to Anita from the Presbyterian Church, and to understand how she would feel about if we wanted to, about us repurposing some of the material that they prepared for Earth Day. And she was delighted by that idea. And she thought that some of the people who staffed the Earth Day event at the church would be game to come and help staff a table or two at the picnic. So that's one way we could, given the short time, one way we can sort of short circuit the need for a huge amount of content preparation and such. So we'd have to still go through that material and decide whether, particular pieces are ones we would want to use, and if so, whether they need to be edited for our purpose. She seemed fine with the idea that we would take their material, make edits, and use it. She was going to reach out to, I guess it's Anne and the Alice, I guess, Anne
Yes.
and Alice, to see whether they might want to be at the picnic with us. And so I put that out as a way that we might be able to participate in the picnic and not have it kill us, the fact that we're only like 4 weeks away in terms of preparation. So, but why don't I open it up to other ideas? Do we want to do the picnic? Is that a good way to go about it? Is there another way to approach it? What do you think?
well, who's available to help out, staff it?
I can.
I will.
I'm available, yes. So it runs from, you have to set up around 10, and then it runs from 11 to 3-ish,
Yeah,
typically.
I think so.
If it's on one of those really hot days,
That'll be miserable.
What day is it again?
Saturday, the
17th.
17th.
17th. I want to do early morning. I'll do
We can help.
setup.
And the last picnic, I do have to say that everybody left. So it was kind of me and Lovey, I think, left behind to do all the cleanup, and it was a lot of work. So
We need to be willing to be there to the end.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you do a shift, then, you know, make sure there's shifts available for cleanup.
We tried to do shifts and I guess we didn't or staff them appropriately or something, but
I mean, I think it would be, I mean, it's obviously would be really nice to have a table for us there and to have sort of maybe a slightly more limited stuff. And I could see providing just a few items related to lawns or, you know, and lawn efficiency. And I still have all this stuff from Cal Water. So I have a whole bunch of handouts and stuff and swag from Cal Water that's available to hand out that always attracts people. And then, you know, I can drive my little Leaf over too and park it. That seemed to show some interest. People were interested in EVs and nothing exciting, but for someone who doesn't have an EV, it's, you know, there's the little kind of things like we did last time. If I don't know.
well, yeah, I think the induction cooktop, we should try to
if we
borrow
could get that, and if we could get the battery thing, if it's not
backup, I
checked
think
out.
sure we could borrow the backup power thing back from the library and use that. So then we have like 4 different kinds of demo things, which make
You
for
know,
pretty-
having gone to the Valley Presbyterian Church Earth Day thing, Earth Day, one of the low-tech things that I thought was so great was they had a big emphasis on food, you know, cutting down on meat, and it had a cookbook section of cooking without, you know, meat or a meat, you know, whatever. But the one that really was, I thought was so cute and clustered people around it was trying out about 10 or 12 different milks that weren't from cows, you know, like almond milk. And, you know, I always wanted to try pistachio milk, but I didn't want to buy a quart of it. And so they have little bamboo cups, you know, that they weren't plastic. And, you know, you could try 2 or 3 different milks to see if maybe you really wanted to buy pistachio milk instead of cow's milk.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, it was, you know, and people would talk, you know, it was a very social, it wasn't just a poster and people read it, you know, people would sip it and then they say, well, what do you think about this one? Or what do you think about that? It created a lot of buzz. And it was cheap. I mean, you know, a couple quarts of each kind of milk. And
So
one of the three A's, Alice, Anita, or all of a sudden
Anne, I think.
Anne, you know, ran it or was the mover and shaker behind it.
Would we want to ask for a repeat performance of the alternative milks?
Well, if they're, you know, if they want to do it, I think that would be great.
I mean, I think they're really, yeah, I think they're very interested in doing it because the you know, the reach of this event is could be broader than you know, just their church community. So I think the chance is quite good that they would join us for this, or some of them would. What if we were just to designate a person among us to be responsible for each of these items, and then, you know, we just basically show up with the material, the collateral, and I think we could, and I was gonna show it, but let's see. Let me share for 1 second. So there it is. Yeah, this is the list of posters that they used for their Earth Day. So I guess
So we'd be able to borrow that, huh?
yeah, we could use, I think that the actual posters they have, and we could borrow the posters. You can look at the content on this webpage. You can go in and see what, you know, Eat Mostly Plants. What is that? And I think this was sent, I'm not sure this was sent out to everybody, but we could put it in the minutes, the URL, so that, so, you know, so I guess, you know, given that we don't have time we can't meet again before the picnic, I think we're just gonna have to designate a person responsible for each thing. So for example, I'm willing to do the backup power thing. Stefan, if you want to join in that, that'd be great. The induction cooktop, you know, Lovey, maybe you could work to get one for this. I mean, just as an example, and then, you know, each of us would look through these collaterals and pick some that work or don't, you know, whatever collaterals we think are useful. And we just basically show up and, you know, each of 4 of us are showing up with our stuff, and that's it. That's the event.
Are you going to coordinate with Patty Dews, who's
I am.
organizing?
I'm going to tell her that, yes, we want a table. Maybe we want 2 tables.
I
don't
think
know.
we do. I think we want 2 tables.
2 tables.
And then we also, if I'm going to bring my EV, if she's going to set up the same way, then I could just drive it in the back like I did last time.
Okay. I can let her know that we're going to have your EV there, and we'd like to be situated in such a place where that would be easy to sort of walk over to. So Rebecca, you would bring the lawn related stuff, right?
And the Cal Water swag, yeah.
And the Cal Water swag, as well as the Nissan Leaf. I would be responsible for the backup thing. The induction cooktop, would you be game to take on that one, Lovey?
Well, I'll see if one's available through Anne.
Okay.
She has 5 of them, so I'll see if, you know, she can have one free that day.
And then I'll suggest that the milks, the milk alternatives would be an interesting one if Anne, Anita, or Alice want to do that, and anything else they might want to do. I mean, they might want to come representing one of the other topics as well.
Lovey, do you remember how they put their posters up?
Easels.
Do you think that we could borrow easels from them?
They didn't have that many posters that I recall. I mean, you know,
No.
maybe 6 or 7. But easel, you know, I remember there was, and they had tables and, you know, little easels, but I remember there were 3 big easels that I saw. You know, the guy with the heat pump, Lowell Sears, and yeah, they had easels.
We probably have easels. If they're not being used for something else, the town has a whole collection
Oh,
of easels. You
okay.
can probably ask for those. And then Scott, just be sure to let Patty know that you also need electricity, because that will probably determine where she sets you up, unless you can plug it into the battery backup.
Hey, yeah, what about that? Plugging the
Induction cooktop will drain that battery fast. So I think if we want to, I think we'd be better.
Unless we get, what's the name of that gal that does all the cooking for everyone?
Sure.
Laura
I'll bring-
Steck.
I'll bring mine too with the panel, and we can always be charging one and then using the other one.
Okay, that's cool. All right.
It'd be really cool if you could run the induction cooktop off of the solar panel.
You gotta be careful though, because the induction cooktops have a very high wattage.
Yeah.
And so an average one is somewhere around 1800 watts, and mine only handles 1400 watts. So it'll just.
I don't think we should try to do cooking displays.
No.
I think just seeing it, and you know, I can bring my little platter thing.
Well,
that
I mean,
shows that if people don't have the right kind of cookware, they don't have to throw out the cookware, you know, just.
Yeah, maybe it's not a live demo, because with a hot plate there and all the kids running around, I mean, I think that could be a problem too. So that means we don't need electricity then, is that true?
Right.
We have backup power and we'll run some little gizmos and gadgets with that, but we don't need a full AC. So yeah, okay.
And then I think in the box that has been sitting in my front entry for the past 8 months, I think we still have 5 or 6 of those gifts that we gave away, the little light bulbs that are emergency prep light bulbs. So
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't think we should do any kind of raffle or anything like that, but we still have all of those forms that we made last time to get people to commit to activities. So I don't know if we want to do a little promotion of the first 5 people will get a little gift if they come to the booth and fill out commit to 5 to do 5 things or something like that.
Bring that, sure, bring that. Yeah. So in terms of the schedule then, how are we gonna do that?
Well, I think
Well, I
somebody,
always end up being there the whole time, so I guess I'll be there the whole time.
Yeah, I think I'll be there the whole time. Just plan to do that. I mean, maybe if
I'll be there early.
be there early.
I can't say I'll last the whole time, especially if it's hot.
Yeah, I guess that's a contingency. Okay, well, I guess we'll, rather than trying to make schedules, maybe we just, those of us who can show up at, you said you think 10 is when set up?
Yeah, because at some point, because of the little fun run that's happening,
Yeah, They
you
shut
really
the
want to get
road.
everything set up. The roads get closed. Roads
Oh,
get
yeah.
closed anyway, so you're gonna have to kind of come in through the back, depending where you live, obviously, through the back roads to
Yeah,
get there. The last Westridge, the closest Westridge exit to Portola. So if you need to get to town center, you need to get there before 10.
yeah, I remember that last time. Yeah, so that's important. So I guess all of us who can converge a little before 10 when the road is still open, we'll meet at the tables and get it all set up, and then we can just dynamically work out who's going to take what shift, I guess.
I'm gonna
Is
do
there
the
another
raise
meeting
with-
2 days before?
I'm
that
sorry?
on don't we have another meeting on the 15th, which is 2 days before that?
Mhm.
Um,
Yes, we do.
You're right. You're right. We do 2 days before. I guess we can just talk over how it's going, preparations are going. Then, yeah, thank you.
And I'll remind people that that day is also the town, not picnic, the town concert. So if there's going to be an overlap with our
which-
meeting for people who decide to go to the,
Oh, gosh,
town
the
concert.
town concert is the evening of the sustainability meeting.
yes.
Oh, ugh.
So it's supposed to go till 8 and then our meeting starts at 7. So just if you're planning to go to the town concert, you'll have to leave early, I guess. So you
Okay.
wouldn't want to miss our meeting.
No. Okay, all right, well, is that pinning down enough details for the picnic to say, yes,
think
we're gonna
so.
do it? Yeah. A bit of a we're gonna wing it and bring.
I was gonna say,
We're gonna wing it.
I
We're
can
gonna,
wing it.
we're gonna bring boxes of stuff and we're gonna set it up and we're gonna see what we have.
I'm not going to bring a lot like last time. No way. Because nobody's really interested in, to be honest, in irrigation anymore. So, everybody has their own gardeners who take care of that. They can't be bothered to change out
Yeah,
Sprinkler
their
heads.
sprinkler heads and whatnot. So, or, and even if I had one person interested in gray water, but okay, I can talk about it, but I don't need to lug over gray water stuff.
yeah. Okay, well, let's see, are there any topics that go on the agenda for next meeting that aren't already evident? I guess next meeting, do we want to talk about Steve Levin's simulation stuff and how we want to be involved in that? We can have that on the agenda.
Okay.
We'll have certainly the picnic, last minute conferring with one another. Brandy.
I'll update Wheelo.
Yeah, Wheelo will be, you think you'll be ready by next time?
Well, I don't know. I'll
Well,
update you as to,
Yeah,
hope the meeting is going to occur soon, but
sure.
there's other
Sure.
people involved, so I can't
Okay.
tell you.
And then Brandy, you had something? Hello,
So the
Brandy.
climate
Sorry,
action.
I think you need to vote on a new vice chair, I think. If
Yeah,
Stefan is stepping down.
do
and
we,
that was,
yeah, we do, can we do that at the next meeting?
Yeah.
yes, that's what I was saying for
Yeah.
that agenda.
Yeah, Vice Chair, thank you, yes. Good point. Okay. All right. Any last minute things that need to go on the agenda next time? All right, is there a motion to close the meeting, adjourn?
I make a
Oh, we
motion.
all want to keep.
I second.
All right, the meeting is hereby adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
All right, see y'all.
Right.
You-
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.